So, how's the tour going so far?
Oh man, it's going really well. It's really just honored to be a part of all this. You know, after being really good friends with Mark and the guys in Alter Bridge and Hailstorm, it's really cool to like travel as one big like family. It's fun.
Cool. And I saw on Instagram that you were recording the second album. Mm-hmm. Drums, bass, guitars. Are the vocals recorded already?
No, that's what I have to do when I get home. I got that and guitar solos and stuff.
How long did it take for you to write the new songs for the new record?
A bunch of random ideas that I've been writing over since the last album was made. So it was just kind of, take the first 2 weeks in September, Elvis, my producer, and we just kind of went through the ideas and made sure we had what was ready to go, and then we did it.
Yeah, when you write a song, because, you play everything. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. You're going to tell me if it's a blessing or a curse, but when you write, you already have the complete idea formed in your head?
No, half the time it's just kind of, usually it starts with something on the guitar, and it's just like a riff or something, and if it interests me enough, I'll make something on Logic on my computer. That's kind of like an idea showcase, if you will. It's just kind of a minute of like the main riff and something else, and if I come up with it, and then from there I'll show, depending on how much I work on that, I'll show Elvis. It's like, hey, is this a cool idea? And be like, yeah, and then I'll work on it more and stuff like that. And that's how that kind of happens.
You trust your instinct most of the time when you're writing?
Yeah, I think that's it's crazy how well received the first album is, and that's I was really honestly surprised for so many people to really like that first album, and I think it's important to not look at that and go like, oh no, I have to do it again. I think it was important to kind of follow the process that led me to that one, which was to just make music that excites me and makes me happy, and that's what I did with these songs, and I think they're turning out really cool.
Yeah. So it's a blessing or a curse to be able to play all the instruments?
I guess a bit of both. You can get kind of lost in the sauce, when you're trying to do stuff, but it's a really fun experience to be able to piece it all together.
Are you much of a perfectionist?
Maybe I guess more than, I just like to do my best. So perfectionist maybe, but I don't know. I just have a care for the craft.
Yeah. And when you're working with Elvis, obviously he's a well-known producer, and he probably has a good ear for a good instinct as well. When you're working with him, you trust absolutely his ear and the ideas he gives you, or sometimes you're like, let's try first my idea. And
I think it's a bit of both. I like to think of him as he's almost like the other member of the band in the studio, because he's the person I'm able to bounce ideas off of. A lot of people are like, oh, so if it's just you, it's like you must not have any interaction with any. But he's that other person for me in that. So we'll obviously bounce a bunch of ideas off of each other, and some work, some don't, and we'll try things here and there. And I think that's the really great thing about Elvis, is that it's anything he suggests is for the betterment of the song. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of producers out there who just try to change things to say it's what they did. Yeah. He's not like that.
Oh, that's good. And when you put out the first album, you probably took your time to write and to put it out. Obviously there was a lot going on as well in your life. Was there a pressure because of the name for you? What I'm trying to say is, like, for you, you're probably making the music and you really probably don't care what most people say. If you feel okay with the music, it's fine. But you felt like somehow, because of the surname that you have, you felt the pressure. Are people expecting to be like a Van Halen type of thing?
I think a little bit, but it was just important to kind of make something that was all me, rather than trying to make something that people would think would come from me. I think that's why it was really important to just try and be as original and as possible, and follow what kind of music I wanted to make, instead of trying to make things that people would think I would.
I think that's what sometimes, when we interview, second generation musicians, or let's say wrestlers, for instance, because I do the commentary for WWE in Portugal.
Oh, nice.
And, I've interviewed a lot of superstars, and some of them are second or third generation. So there's always an expectation that they leave to the name of the father or the grandfather. In your case, it was a natural thing to go into the music route. Was always something that since you were young you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 31 and I've been doing this for over half my life already, since I was 14. So it's definitely something that just kind of happened. Like it almost wasn't even a choice. It just kind of rolled into that. Yeah. So yeah.
when do you realize, obviously with your dad, music was always present in the house. So, I mean, it's natural that if you see your dad playing, if you saw your dad playing, you would try to do the same, I saw my dad smoking, but I didn't try to smoke. It does not always mean that if you see your dad doing something, you want to follow the footsteps.
Totally.
But was always like something that, really grabbed your attention as well? Yeah,
it just kind of was a part of, I guess music was just such a thing around me that it just seemed like more of an inevitability, It just kind of happened. Like when I was 10, I started playing drums, and from there it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah. You started with drums? Okay. How was, that first experience to sit behind the drum kit?
Yeah, it was really fun. My dad had that was one of the only things he actually really sat down and taught me, was he had like a couple magazines on a table, and he was like, with this one do this, and then with this one do this, and then if you can do your foot in between the left hand, that's highway to hell, and when he saw that I could do that, that's when for my 10th birthday he got me a drum kit.
And then he let you do your thing.
Yeah, I think that was really important, honestly. Like I'm happy that I have my own musical identity. Yeah. I think with you see a lot of people who are the second generation that kind of try to copy or mimic rather than try and be their own person. And I'm happy that I'm at least attempting to be my own person rather than trying to emulate anything he did.
And you wrote the songs for the next record. Compared to the first one, are they in the same line? Is there anything, a death metal song that probably will surprise people?
Yeah, it's funny. I think what I want to get across with the new album is sort of like, if the first album was this, I want to kind of do this. So like on this side, make things that could be poppier or lighter, and then on this side, make things that could be heavier, And there's definitely... there's some heavier stuff, and there's a whole song that's on piano. So it's there's a lot of, I think we're pulling that off with these new batches of songs.
Are you when you're doing an album? Obviously, songs can come from a guitar riff or a piano thing. Do you always try to make it diverse as possible? Or you're not conscious of that? It's just, what you write.
I never really try to make an attempt of like, ooh, the song should be this because it'd be more diverse. It just it's just an extension of the idea, and it just kind of happens. You just kind of follow where the song leads you,
Do you have song ideas that have been on the hard drive for a long time?
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff that, there's a couple ideas from when I first wrote stuff. When I started writing stuff for this back in like 2013, so yeah, there's a lot of ideas. I don't think ideas can ever, expire.
Yeah. When you look at those ideas, can you remember, what you were thinking or what you were going through then?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ideas where you can I don't know. Music has this thing of reminding you exactly where you were when you first heard it, or when you first came up with it, or something, from a writing perspective as well. So yeah, that certainly happens a lot.
I'm going to ask, if you don't want to answer, it's okay, because I'm sure you're just tired of people asking the same shit over and over again. But I'm going to ask because I'm here with you, and you can say no if you want. Pantera had their reunion shows. I don't know if you watched any of it. But do you think? They say, the brothers would want it and they would be happy with it. I don't judge anyone. I mean, if people want to do, they do it. Do you think it would be feasible for a Van Halen tour?
I think with them, it's way more of a. I think it depends on the band or the camp, you know. And for them, they seem to be more comfortable with that. But I think when it comes to what Van Halen was, it's impossible to properly do something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't ever see that happening.
Maybe one show, a tribute, but not even that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, new album, the vocals are the only thing that's missing. Have you wrote the lyrics for the songs?
Yeah, it's kind of that's sort of like an evolving process.
Yeah.
You know, I have a bunch of ideas, and then it's just kind of what tends to work with what, you know.
Do lyrics evolve much when you're writing them?
Yeah, I think they do. That's just another part. It's kind of like when, like you're painting a picture and you kind of don't know when to stop. You just gotta have to decide, like, that's the end, you know.
When you're writing a lyric, have you ever thought maybe this is showing me a bit too much, is a bit too personal, or you're not afraid of showing the vulnerability?
Yeah, I think it is a personal thing. Like, this music is 100% me, so it should be personal. So for it to, I don't ever hold back when it comes to something like that.
Yeah, you don't have a problem to open up to the world. And,
Yeah,
this is me. This is what I'm thinking.
I mean, I think that's how it is. Like, it's a personal thing. If you didn't, you know, put your whole self into it, it would feel, you know, not honest.
Yeah. Do you think people connect more when they realize it's it's something that comes from the heart?
Yeah, I think people see that. It's something that you can relate to, you know.
What is the song that you can relate most to? That song that, you know, means so much to you?
Gosh, I remember growing up, the song 23 by Jimmy Eat World was a huge song for me because I was 22 and I was listening to it and I felt like the lyrics were talking to me.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. I think when songs, when you just, it's that perfect meetup where you just hear something from your perspective, but it's somebody else singing it to you. Yeah. It really leaves a lasting impression on you.
And you probably have, you know, people come to you and say how much of an influence, how important your dad was to them and everything. How does that, you know, when you see that, and now as an artist, do you hope to have as much of an impact to people, you know, realizing that how important music is to, you know, not just to you, but to fans that are listening?
Oh yeah, anybody that reaches out on Twitter or to a show or something, and to see how my music can even affect a person or two there is a really humbling experience to see that something you made can help someone or make someone happy or they're going through something and it makes it a little bit easier. Like that's an amazing feeling to be able to do something like that.
Can you deal well when people go say, hey Wolfgang, how are you? I love your music and everything. How does it feel? You know, I'm saying that because I remember when I did TV, you know, doing the WWE stuff. You know, I remember I was going to a shopping center and there were kids with their dads pointing at me and I was so embarrassed. It's not because I didn't, you know, I was doing something and I'm still doing something that I love when it comes to that. But, you know, I didn't feel like a rock star or anything like that important. And having people pointing at me, I'm like, listen, I'm just a normal guy. I'm just...
I mean, yeah, same thing. It's like we're all just people. You know, I think it's a really, really weird thing. You know, I don't see myself as any better than anyone else, you know, so you shouldn't think that either. We're all just people.
Yeah. And, you know, we are at that time where Christmas songs are everywhere. You know, Mariah Carey is probably, we cannot get away, and probably Last Christmas from Wham or whatever. Yeah. You know, what is for you the ultimate Christmas song?
Ultimate Christmas song? Man, I have no idea.
You can say the Mariah Carey one is fine.
You know what? Well, for me, I think you know, Blink-182 has a couple Christmas songs, so probably one of their Christmas songs.